Congratulations! You've just been handed a huge new opportunity. Bravo! With it comes the need for new skills. Skills you'll need to master in short order. Every year, Harvard Business School Executive Education helps executives like you develop the hard and soft skills it takes to succeed in new roles. This is your chance. Go. Start by going to hbs.me/go. That's hbs.me/go.
Hi, guys. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up today, we're going to be talking about the hashtag Me Too, but...
Hashtag Church 2.
Church 2.
Apparently,
Church 2.
and I think our listeners will be shocked, shocked to learn this,
Cool.
there has been sexual abuse in churches.
In churches.
Who would have ever thought?
Men with authority over other people are using their authority
Are using that power
to get away with
in ways
with inappropriate behavior.
to abuse others.
Yes, indeed.
Who would ever have believed it? I am blown away.
It really, really, really is quite amazing. All right, Dan.
Yes, sir.
I got a story to get to now.
Okay.
We'll get to that other stuff later. Let's get to some stuff now.
Yes.
Missouri, the state.
The fine state of Missouri.
Missouri.
The show me state. Is that
Yes,
right?
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they are. They've got a bill rather, in their legislature at the moment.
Okay.
That has that would, if passed, stop marriages that don't take place in churches. All other unions,
I love it,
would be defined as domestic unions.
Sure.
Right?
Partnerships.
And all marriages, both gay and straight, that have already happened would have to be reclassified as domestically unionized.
So if they didn't happen in a church, you mean?
If they did not happen in a church. They have to happen in churches, Dan. Period. Marriage?
I think
let's take back marriage.
I like it. I feel like we should. Here's what I feel like. We should make the term marriage. They should have to come up with a word that isn't marriage. If they want something that's just religious, it's purely a religious concept.
Right.
They don't get marriage.
Right.
Marriage has happened for centuries, for millennia, long before Christianity came along.
The Mormons did this. They call them sealings.
Right.
Their little special religious thing that they do on top of marriage
Right.
is a sealing.
That's right.
Right.
Not the thing above your head in a room, but rather we seal you together.
Right. You are bound.
Yeah.
For all eternity.
For time
to
and
each
all
other.
eternity. Yeah.
You cannot escape each other. The Lord hath decreed it.
Right. Exactly.
You are unionized.
Don't get sick of each other. You've got forever.
Yeah, why don't they take this whole, why not religiously unionized?
Yeah.
We pronounce this a religious union.
Right. Yeah, exactly. When a church sanctifies a marriage, great. Call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
But it's not marriage. Marriage is this other thing that we all can do.
But no. It's theirs, Dan. Are you kidding me?
They own it.
It's theirs.
Yeah, they invented it.
Yeah. So nobody knows if this thing stands a chance in hell of passing. Probably not. Let's face it.
And if it does pass, it will just instantly be attacked by the ACLU or whatever, and then it'll go through the courts and eventually be shot down.
Right. Like if the state doesn't recognize you as being married, what happens to filing taxes,
marriage laws, and all that sort of thing.
Like, do the federal laws not apply to you because the state doesn't recognize you as married?
Right. Yeah.
Surely not.
Well,
Sure.
or go ahead and tell me what you think the difference is between a legal partnership,
Right.
whatever they're calling it, and marriage. You go ahead and tell me what the legal difference is between those two things.
Yeah.
Other than the word.
I don't know. Sponsors of the bill say, though, that it's important and that it will help protect churches and businesses against, quote, gay encroachment.
Here's the thing.
That's what it's about.
Gay encroachment. You gays, and you're always encroaching.
It's one of the things we do best. We encroach.
You blink, and here's what happens. You look away, you look into your little bag or whatever, and you look back, and the gay guy's a little closer.
Right. And you do it like this, Dan. You have your little pause. You just slowly move forward. Notice.
That is a very gay encroachment that you're doing. Those of you watching on YouTube can see Frank is encroaching in the gayest of ways. It's a very gay encroachment. Okay, well, I can see why lawmakers would want to protect us against that.
Well, yeah.
That makes total sense to me.
Let me tell you.
You've
been encroached.
Yes, indeed.
I'm encroaching.
Okay, well, I'm going to take us to these to the federal level, where we will talk about the Department of Health and Human Services, which is a department of the United States of America government, and they've got a new division. They're adding a new division to their department.
Okay.
Thank you, Trump administration, for this. It is the Division of Conscience and Religious Freedom.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very needed. Because what needs to happen is that people, doctors, nurses, healthcare workers, must be protected from the evils of having to provide health care for people that they find unsavory.
Oh, no. Have I encroached too far?
You're encroaching again. It makes people uncomfortable, Frank. Doctors and nurses, all there just trying to do their job. Not for you, obviously. But for the good, normal people.
Because I'm disgusting.
You're just awful. I mean, at least you're not trying to have an abortion, which is the main problem that they have.
Well, you don't know, Dan.
Are you? You're encroaching into pregnancy too? God damn it.
I'm everywhere, Dan.
Yeah, so this is to protect people. This isn't even, like, doctors don't have to perform abortions. But if you're like a doctor, there are doctors who don't even want to serve women who have had an abortion. Oh, my God. This is how shitty this is. And, in a place like Salt Lake City, Utah, which is, granted, I mean, I know that people think of this as, like, we're in the reddest of the red states or whatever. But you know what? Salt Lake City is very blue itself.
Right.
And Mormons are more reasonable on some things.
Sure. Yeah.
Than your crazy evangelicals down in the South.
Right.
Here's the thing. In Salt Lake City, if I had a doctor and the doctor was like, well, I'm uncomfortable because you said you're an atheist and I don't really want to help you because you might do something evil or whatever. I'd be like, fuck you, good. I want a different doctor anyway. I don't want you to be my doctor.
Right.
And that's a luxury that I have.
Right.
Because I'm in a place where there's an abundance of doctors. I can find another doctor if I need to.
It's inconvenient, though.
It is inconvenient.
It really sucks trying to find a doctor.
Oh, my God.
Finding one you like?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Mine moved away. My good doctor that I liked, she moved away.
Oh, my insurance changed.
Yeah.
Can't go to the doctor anymore.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. But but there are people in rural parts of the South for whom there is only a doctor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or there are two doctors to whom they have regular access. So if both of those doctors happen to feel this way, suddenly they could not get service.
Holy crap.
This is a reversal of an Obama-era policy that barred healthcare workers from refusing to treat like transgender people or people who have had or are seeking abortions. Mm-hmm. And they won't. And this is a thing that continues. Like, for instance, there was a very recent complaint filed by a pediatric nurse in Illinois who objects because her employer requires that she's trained in how to make referrals to other professionals who provide abortions or like contraceptive pills. That
She
sort of
doesn't
thing.
even have to do the abortion.
No, she doesn't have to talk about the abortion. All she has to do is say, "Let me refer you to a healthcare provider who's willing to, who's
Right.
able to do this for you."
Right.
She objects to that.
Wow.
So yes, our country.
That's not cool.
We're going backwards, folks. We're in a little bit of a backwards part of our country's history.
I only practice medicine with people who believe exactly like I do.
Right, exactly.
Right, like what is that?
If you're not wearing a cross, don't come to my medical practice.
Right.
So stupid.
I'm so sorry. Would you take that hijab off while you're in here, please?
Right, exactly. They take the Hippocratic oath as well as the Hippocratic.
Oh, damn. Oh, damn.
So droll. We have fun.
Oh, all right. Dan.
Yeah.
Got the story of a Buddhist scholar in Thailand, internationally renowned, apparently,
Okay.
if you're into such things, by the name of Sulak Sivaraksa.
I'm sure you said that perfectly.
Beautifully.
Yeah.
In fact, I practiced
Okay.
because I didn't want to get it entirely wrong.
Right.
He was given a speech,
Okay.
a little talk,
As they do.
at Bangkok, at a Bangkok university.
Okay.
There was a history conference,
Okay.
and he pointed out to his fellow academics and that there was this story that's sort of canonized in Thai history,
Right.
of a Thai king going to war against another prince or king or whatever.
Sure.
Might not have been a Thai king, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. I think it was a prince. And he goes, and they go to war, and the Thai member of the
Monarch.
royalty, the monarch, whatever,
Sure.
he kills the other, his opponent,
Uh-huh.
and they're on elephant back.
Oh.
And they do like this jousty thing on elephant back.
Wow.
Right? And so it's this beautiful story, 400 years old. Every Thai person knows this story.
Sure.
It's as fundamental as any story of, George Washington
Cutting down the cherry
crossing
tree.
the Delaware.
Oh, okay.
Right. That kind of thing.
Sure.
Right. Like just pivotal, important story. And he says that it's probably not true. that the other guy was probably killed in some other fashion.
My
The
gosh.
Thais still win, right?
Right.
And his like the
Outcome of the battle equals same.
is the same. He says that maybe it just didn't go quite the way that everybody thought.
You're telling me that war stories might have been embellished? I think if there's one thing we can count on in the history of the world, it's that no one's ever embellished a war story before.
So the Thai military arrests the man.
Oh my God!
The 85-year-old academic.
What?
And they go forward with and indict him on grounds of lèse majesté, which is defaming the monarchy.
Oh my God! Wow.
And intended to try him in military court. Now, it turns out that just a few days ago, the courts refused to hear the case and whatnot. But this form of like intimidation,
That's crazy.
and all he was doing was kind of just poking at the national myth just
Yeah.
a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Just a foundational story, and this highly regarded historian is like how
Is
just-
pilloried.
yeah,
Is arrested. Literally arrested. That's
and
crazy.
harassed, and I mean, this is a form of harassment.
It's so funny. We do see this happen here, though.
Oh yeah,
If you challenge, like, I mean, it's starting to erode a little bit, but the story that you and I were taught in school about Christopher Columbus.
Oh, yeah.
The whitewashing of that story, the whitewashing, I mean, history, I mean, it's written by the victors, as they say. But, you know, the whitewashing of the story of, or rather the Christian washing of the story of the first Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
And the pilgrims who came to this land.
Yeah.
That's all bullshit. Everything you and I learned about that, complete bullshit.
Absolutely. But you say that to the wrong person. Somebody who is fully vested.
They're so
in these
they're
dumb
so
histories, dumb little stories.
Right.
What does that have to do with anything about my life today?
Right. Except
believing
that,
this dumb little story.
Except that it is ingrained, and it's not just the historicity of the thing. It's about it's the mythos of the founding of the country, or the mythos of in the case of this the Thai thing, the mythos of the monarchy.
Right.
And it's the same as a religious mythos.
Yeah.
It is exactly the same. And for those people who believe that the United States was called by God. This was, a country designed by God.
Oh, yeah.
To be this beautiful thing, which so many people believe.
Mm-hmm.
To point out that Columbus was a rapist, and that and that he slaughtered countless thousands of natives,
right,
just brutally, or to point out that the quote unquote pilgrims that came here, that landed on Plymouth Rock, weren't fleeing religious persecution. They were trying to practice. They were just treated badly because they treated everybody else like shit.
Right.
Because they were Puritans. Right. Nobody likes Puritans because they treat everybody awfully.
Right.
And you get all of this stuff. The Trail of Tears I read just the other day. There was some sort of history book for children, for a child's history text that claimed that Native American Indians had volunteered that these new white people needed some room, needed land.
No.
And that that they had agreed to move to different places to make room for these white people.
Oh my God.
I mean, they agreed after having been, murdered. The ones remaining were like, oh, I guess we'll leave now.
And their land, stolen from them.
Yeah.
Damn.
There you go.
Yeah. All right.
It's my turn.
Oh, is it?
That was yours.
Oh.
We were just talking about your one.
Oh, you were just kind of going on and on, so.
Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, my rambling has offended Mr. Frank. It's my turn and I'm going. The internet is this thing that we have now.
Uh-huh.
It's having an effect on the world. It's hard to know all of the far-reaching ways, but one of the ways that it seems to be affecting the world, at least according to a doctoral student at Baylor University in Texas, a man named Paul McClure, in a study that was published in the Journal for the Scientific Study of Religion, which is a journal I feel like I should receive almost.
Yeah, sign up for it, Dan.
Yeah, apparently, the more people use the internet, the less likely they are to say that they are a member of a specific church.
What?
The less likely they are to have a specific religious affiliation or to believe in and practice one religion exclusively.
This information doesn't need to be getting out. This just needs to happen, because now all the religious types are going to get all protective of their kids, and they're going to retreat even further
from the internet.
I
got news for you. You can't stop the internet. Their kids are going to go on the internet. Matter of fact, the more they say don't go on the internet, the more when their kids go off to college, they're going to be like, well, why? What the fuck's on?
No, this is going to be like the weird family down the street that didn't let their kids watch the Smurfs. Like that's what this they and they'll produce a bunch of weirdo kids, and that's the thing, they revel in how odd they can be.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned television, because television, it's been known for a while, has had an influence on religion, but not in the same way. So this study points out that TV watching and other sort of technologies like it have an effect on how much people go to church, how much people interact with their church, but doesn't have an effect on how much people claim a church.
Oh, interesting.
So people may go to church less if they're more interested in TV. Makes sense to me. TV,
CBS Sunday Morning.
Well,
like, I'm not getting up for church.
Well, but
I'm getting up for,
But also, when you're acclimatized to entertainment, and then you go to a church and you realize, oh, this isn't entertaining. This is terrible. But it doesn't stop people from it doesn't diminish the claim of being a member of a church.
Right.
That's not how the internet is affecting people. It doesn't mean that they don't believe in God. People who apparently they're more likely to say things like all religions are equally true. That sort of thing. Which
there some new enemies of the internet have just formed.
Right.
This is
because that's of course that statement is absurd on its face.
Right.
But there you go. Yeah. It's
good.
It's an interesting finding. Increases in internet use were associated with decreases in religious affiliation. And that doesn't. There's obviously a lot of overlap, he says, between non-affiliation and atheism, and we know that we're seeing the category of none, people who would respond with no affiliation, going up. That doesn't mean that people are necessarily claiming the word atheist as much as we'd like them to.
Well, let's get more stuff about atheism on the internet.
Yeah.
Because if we have people there who are already just kind of like, meh.
Is there a way to put this show on the internet? We should look into that. I feel.
Yeah.
Now you can do your story.
Thank you, Dan. I feel like this ties in a very... very not tied in sort of way.
Okay.
A poll has recently been released.
Oh, you love a good poll.
About non-believers turning to prayer, actually.
Oh.
Apparently 1/5 of non-believers will pray in moments of crisis.
Oh.
Or perhaps even out of habit.
Okay.
And I found this line interesting. Also during activities such as cooking or exercising.
What?
Dear Heavenly Father, please let my pasta primavera turn out. It's been so long since I've cooked.
Part of me understands this because I remember within the first few years after I realized that I didn't believe in God, there was still this sort of knee-jerk impulse toward filling the gap that was left where prayer had been. There is a function to prayer.
There is, yeah.
So,
and
every now and then,
very comforting.
I haven't done this for a decade or more, but every now and then I used to get down on my knees and talk to myself in the same way that I talked to God. I would just say,
I've actually done something similar.
I would say, Dan, I'm really scared right now, or I'm really having a rough time right now. And I would just talk to myself in the same ways. And, using, I don't think I would use thee and thou because that's just silly.
Me and Mao.
But it just seemed like I needed that same, and there's like a meditative quality to it.
Yeah.
So I don't begrudge anybody that. Because I think that there's something to it, and I think that it would be great if we could find a space in our community for that sort of thing. But it is silly. I mean, and people, we should all realize how goofy that
Right.
is. The idea of praying to God.
Yeah, apparently the subjects of these folks' prayers,
Yeah.
71% said that they were thinking of loved ones. 42% said that they were praying to sort of to thank God. I don't know how, as a non-believer, you're thinking God, but okay.
Yeah, I feel like they've misunderstood at least one definition in there. Either they
It could also have been the habit of the writer to maybe people were expressing gratitude,
right,
and instead, well, they must be thinking God, or there's confusion. There's confusion all around.
Yes,
somewhere.
indeed.
And then, of course, health, friends, that both occurred about 40% of the respondents. Yeah, so it's 32% said they prayed on the off chance something could change.
Look, I don't think you're there, but if you're there,
And 3% said it was just simply a matter of routine.
yeah,
And that's that kind of the thing you're talking about. That like, because there were definitely moments in my life when I was a believer, or a doubter, even when it was just this is what you do now.
Yeah.
That's what you do in this kind of situation.
yeah.
And yeah, you're kind of programmed for it.
You sit down at a meal, and those first few meals that you like, when you've stopped praying, it's like, aren't we supposed to do something before we eat?
Well, I still have a thing where when everybody sits down around a table and the one person just starts grabbing at shit,
It feels weird.
and I'm like, excuse me, who gave you permission to start grabbing shit?
We haven't had a ceremony yet.
We haven't had a ceremony. So I have taken to saying bon appetit.
Ah,
Because the Italians say buon appetito, but I think that sounds even more odd than saying, oh, bon appetit.
yeah. We as an American culture have sort of embraced the French,
Yeah.
but with our cuisine,
Right.
we use the word cuisine for instance.
But no, so like bon appetit, I'll say that. I think I feel like you need something to mark the beginning of the free for all.
The launch of the meal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
does-
It's nice.
it does. It feels right.
Well, eating is such a it's obviously it's an extremely communal thing to be doing. It's something
Unless
that you
you're
tend to
alone.
do with people that you really love, right?
Yes,
You tend not to invite your worst enemies over for dinner,
right.
right? And
Although maybe you should. Jesus would say
you could probably heal
right
deep and dividing wounds,
through lunch.
through a meal.
Yeah.
It is a marvelous thing to anyway. So a little bit of ceremony, right? A little bit of tradition, a little bit. It feels right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Prayer, yeah, there's something to it. It's not God,
No,
but there's something there. I think, we should be exploring that.
we should recite poems at the beginning of meals.
Shit. You're ruining the meal, Frank. You're ruining it. I'm going to take us to Texas.
Texas.
Where there was a trial of a woman named Gloria Romero Perez, who was on trial for the trafficking of her niece, the sexual trafficking of a child.
Oh my God. Okay.
And she went to trial for this thing. The trial was apparently, towards the end of it, interrupted by the judge. Now, this is a jury trial. The jury decides who's guilty and who's not.
Okay.
But the judge decided that he needed to intervene. This is Judge Jack Robeson
Okay.
in Comal County, a state district court judge, who decided to intervene and to instruct the jurors that God had told him that she was innocent.
Mistrial. What?
He said, when God tells me I got to do something, I got to do it. And yeah.
So what happened? What did people do?
Well, what's beautiful about this is that the jury said, basically, in a giant fuck you to this judge, convicted her.
Oh, wow.
And then the judge had to recuse himself from the sentencing stage, obviously, because fuck you. So this is a judge who has been reprimanded before.
Yeah, I bet.
Which is a really, really big deal. Because he's gotten in trouble before, but holy shit, now what's the miracle of this story for me, the beautiful part of this story for me is that a bunch of Texans defied a Christian judge and apparently his God and said, no, evidence is more important than whatever your imaginary friend told you.
Right.
And went ahead and convicted. And so a new judge was placed in charge of the sentencing. The defense did ask for a mistrial, which you'd think maybe that works. But because there was a conviction, the new judge denied the mistrial and just said, no, we're just going to go straight to sentencing.
Wow.
Holy shit, though. What's amazing is that this kind of shit happens in the minds of judges all the time. But when one says it out loud to a jury and tries to influence the jury,
oh my God,
based on his fucking imaginary friend's inside scoop in a child sex trafficking case. That's some crazy shit.
Jeez. Wow. I'm just flabbergasted.
Yeah.
I'm kind of speechless about, how does somebody like that, how are they still there?
Hopefully that he won't be. I don't know. I mean, it's being sort of taken under advisement by the State Bar Association or somebody.
Was he an appointed judge or was he an elected judge?
That I don't have any information about.
Huh. Interesting. Huh. Well, whatever.
Yeah.
They need to get him out of there.
Yeah, it sort of points at what is happening in these United States right now. It's scary.
Yeah, but it seems like
the system.
Seems like scary shit happens.
Mm-hmm.
What I think is interesting about what's happening right now in the United States is that there is a sense of the lunatics are kind of emboldened, right? And so we're seeing a lot of them, right? More so than we're used to seeing, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is a good thing.
Yeah.
I think we're working out some stuff in our system right now.
Yeah, we need
to see these people. We need them to feel bold. Right?
Yeah.
We need judges who are bad judges,
who come out and say the things that that before they would know better than to say.
Right.
But now Trump's elected and this is our United States again and I get to say it. And then the whole system collapses in on him and goes, no.
Right.
Thanks for telling us that you're a loon ball.
Right.
Please leave now.
Right. Because otherwise he might have had other more subtle ways of trying to, influence and affect outcomes and what have yous. Right. Like now he's exposed himself.
Right.
So
we'll see if that has any effect.
It probably won't. Who knows?
In smaller
things
counties
are
Texas.
kind of upside down and backward, but that's whatever.
Yep, there you go.
Well, all right, Dan.
Well, if you folks have anything you'd like to tell us about any of the things that we've said, please write to us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
That's right. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist. Click that like button.
And while you're there, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It's a closed group, but we'll let you in.
Yes, indeed.
Hey, Dan.
Yes, sir.
Does the name Kevin Swanson ring a bell?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, we love that guy.
Who is this guy?
He's that right. He's the guy. He shot to fame a few years back by he was the one that was like, if his son was gonna get gay married, he would rub manure on himself and sit at his front door. And so he's
I don't remember that at all. What?
Yeah. No, you'd recognize him. He's a loony bird. He's delightful.
Well, anyway, he has some things to say about the latest Star Wars.
Yeah, he does. He does not like that movie. Now, I didn't love it, but I feel like he and I don't agree on it.
Oh, wow.
So
for very different reasons.
For very, very different reasons.
Okay, well, let's hear what he has to say.
Okay.
The other aspect of this movie, The Last Jedi, the sixth most popular film of all time, that had just come out last month, my friends, is the feminist edge to it. Of course, the biggest feminist film of the year, or the biggest lesbian film of the year, was Wonder Woman. But this now, The Last Jedi, becomes the biggest feminist film, and the feminists are head over heels in love with this one. It's a bit of a feminist fest with very little artistic storytelling involved, as you mentioned. The reviewers found this thing to be a rather boring storyline that really never went anywhere, but it was a great vehicle to continue to educate the world towards feminism. And that is, feminism is ultimately the individuation of the family, the destruction of the family, and the violation of the biblical ordinance that the husband is head of the wife. So that's fundamentally what is being eroded in the minds of our 13 and 14-year-old girls as they watch these movies and these films. My friends, you can thoroughly expect the unraveling of the Christian family in the years to come if the Christian family is sitting their children at the feet of feminists and they are receiving these messages. Daisy, Carrie, and Laura are the three actresses that are defending the universe from the bad guys in this film. Daisy, Carrie, and Laura. Daisy Ridley is the Jedi. Carrie Fisher is the commander of the entire resistance. And then there's Laura Dern, who apparently has some important leadership position in the resistance, as well as Admiral Hulda in the film. Now, these, again, are the three most important figures in the resistance. That's quote unquote the good guys defending the universe from the bad guys. Of course, good and bad. Of course, there is no such thing as that in a Star Wars universe.
Oh, now hold on a second.
Wait, I think we've found a point of absolute agreement with Kevin Swanson, which is that of all of the sci-fi movie, of all the movies in the world, movie franchises in the world,
sure,
if there were one that you could say definitely doesn't have a good versus bad theme to it, it's got to be the Star Wars one.
I know. It's so ludicrous.
the notion that there's no good and bad in Star Wars. I mean, the most literally black and white of all the movie franchises that, like, they talk about the dark side of the Force, the light side of the Force.
Right. So that one cannot misunderstand anyone's intentions.
There's so clearly good guys and bad guys.
Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
No, I know.
It's one of the weakest things in the entire franchise. It's one of the things that makes it like an actually like almost unsustainably difficult story to tell, because it literally it misses all of the humanity that lies in the middle between all the way good and all the way bad.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. But I mean, he's right about the whole feminists ruin families thing, obviously.
Well, it's the
because no feminist has ever had a family.
Well, what was the word that the
individuation
of the family?
Oh, there's nothing worse than a family with a bunch of individuals in it. I can't take it.
I know. Well, there you have it, Dan.
There you do have it. That is what you have.
Star Wars.
Oh my God.
I haven't seen it.
I This is one of those ones where I really, really want his prophecy to come true. That the Christian family will erode and disappear. Like, maybe he's right, and I want him to be so badly.
He's not wrong that we want to see an end of it.
Yeah.
He's not wrong about that.
Not at all.
And he's not wrong that I think that there are forces in this culture that are working
incredibly
against the insular and ignorant
the patriarchy.
The patriarchy.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. The patriarchy.
The old system of trying to oppress and keep down women.
Yeah.
Yes, there are elements of our society working to end that.
Yes, indeed.
Poor Kevin Swanson. Oh,
he should be afraid.
He's not
very afraid.
He's not prepared for it.
But we're the dark side, Dan.
Oh, good.
In his little universe.
Of course we are. And he's the good guy. He's somebody give that man a lightsaber, will you? This is from Brian, who writes, "Greetings from Texas. I've listened to the podcast for a good while and look forward to every episode. I'm writing y'all concerning the tragic story of the 13 children who were, for all intents and purposes, locked away and tortured for their entire lives by the parents." You and I talked about this.
Yeah, horrible story.
I feel for all the victims who had to live through that horror. The story deeply affects my wife and I because of our one-child status. She came unnervingly close to death during her pregnancy with our only child, and she will probably face similar circumstances if we try for baby number 2. What especially pains us about families such as this is not their own family. He's referring to the family with the 13 children. Is that they seem to be uninterested in the simple fact that their children will one day become adults who will need to contribute to the advancement of humanity. Belief in religion, a twisted need for power over others, or just wanting a baby shouldn't be the driving reason behind becoming a parent. The world desperately needs children who are being raised to be well-adjusted, educated, caring people, which is a difficult task. I don't even think well-meaning parents can possibly fulfill every need of their children when they have 7, 10, or 13 running around.
Absolutely, yeah.
I can attest to the reality that parenting even one child is a hard-ass job, and I think that most people who choose the quiverful lifestyle are doing so for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
I think that's an important notion. I recently, a couple years ago, got in some social media hot water when I posed the notion that maybe the default in our society shouldn't be that you have children. The default should be that you don't have children, and that you and that if you want children, great, but have a reason.
And you need a license.
And you need to be licensed to be a parent.
Go down to your DMV. Get the parenting.
Fuck, you need a license to catch a fish.
Yeah.
You don't need a license to parent a child?
To bring a new life into the world?
Yeah, you have to, let's have at least to drive a car, you have to take a class.
Yeah.
Take a class before you become a parent. How about that? Okay, now you and I are getting in real trouble here. Before we get into
the two childless podcasters.
Yeah, before we get into any more trouble. Do we have anybody we need to thank today?
We do.
Okay.
We have a new patron on Patreon.
Oh.
Mariah is now a faithful listener.
Oh, lovely.
So thank you, Mariah. And if you'd like to follow in Mariah's footsteps, you can do so by going to thankgodimatheist.com and clicking on the support tab. There's a couple options there. You can go through PayPal if that's what you like,
right.
Or you can go to Patreon.
It helps us
and help the campaign move forward.
Yeah.
We would love to be able to hit 200 supporters on Patreon. We're currently in the 180s.
Yeah.
And if we could hit the 200 mark, if you've been thinking about supporting us, hey,
just help us push over to that 200 mark. That's our big next goal, and if we can do that, we can we want to start making some things happen. But yeah, that at least keeps us going.
Yes, indeed. And of course, as always, we have to thank our Lord and Savior, our top donor, Angela,
the Lord and Savior of the podcast. Hallowed be her name.
How she blesses us.
Her kingdom come.
And all of us.
Her will be done, unless we disagree with it. Amen.
Amen.
Well, Frank.
Dan.
Hashtags.
Oh. They're all the rage these days, Dan. Everybody has their hashtag.
Nation.
Yeah.
They're sweeping the nation.
I just recently found out about these things.
Pound signs.
Pound. Wait. Oh, really?
Pound sign.
Pound sign and then a word.
It's a pound sign and then a word. You do your number symbol.
See, I was doing it wrong. Oh, shit.
Oh, we're old. We are old people. However, what we wanted to talk about, our launch off point was this hashtag Church2, which is a
Church TOO.
TOO, church as well, church also, part of the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
But this time focused on when your Me Too, when your sexual assault, when your sexual predation happened through your church.
Right.
It's not, as none of our listeners will be surprised to learn that this is not an uncommon occurrence. This is a very common occurrence. And it is, it's kind of, I mean, it's frankly, the Me Too, the whole, all the Harvey Weinstein stuff and stuff, it's clear that this happens whenever men get into power. Sexual predation, that doesn't mean all powerful men, but whenever whenever there's opportunity for men to get into power, there will be men who become sexual predators.
Right. It's almost like just look for positions of authority and positions of power, and you're going to you look around long enough, and you're going to find somebody who's misusing.
Probably don't have to look long at all. You're probably if there's 10 guys in that room, at least one of them.
You think that high?
If it's a room at the top, on the top floor of the building, yeah, I do think that high.
Wow.
I think once they get that powerful, yeah, I think it gets really bad.
Interesting.
That's just a guess. That's don't hashtag me on that. Don't at me on Twitter.
Hashtag.
But the point here is, it's particularly insidious when it's your church. It's worse. And the reason it's worse is because they have a very special kind of control over people when they're in church.
Right.
You were telling me a story that you had read on Twitter. Someone had hashtagged me, Church2'd, a story about... it was the woman who started the hashtag. No. Not the woman who started the hashtag, but it was the story that kind of launched it. Which was this
Andy Savage.
The Andy Savage slash what was his victim's name?
Jules Woodward or Woodland or something like that.
I'll track it down.
So she so this is the story.
Jules Woodson.
Yes. So this is the story from a few weeks back. We actually, I don't think, talked about it at all on the show. No. I briefly considered it and then was just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know where this is going yet.
We needed to process it.
Yeah. So Andy Savage is a pastor at some large mega church
in Memphis.
Some kind of associate pastor. He's not all the way up on top of the food chain or anything, but he's there and he runs stuff, and beloved,
indeed,
just beloved individual.
Runs
a lot of like the good relationships and marriage classes and programs and activities and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, actually had a book that was about to be published on the topic of having an awesome marriage or something along those lines.
Awesome.
Well, anyway, Jules came out and released a story. Well, initially she just reached out to him and emailed him directly and said, "Do you remember, this?"
And detailed.
And my understanding is, I hope I'm getting this right. She gave him an opportunity to kind of handle it in private, and he didn't.
He didn't respond.
Right. And so she went public with it. And then he did a public apology, still never speaking to her directly.
Right.
But speaking to the congregation
over
his
the
big
pulpit.
mega church, such as it is. I mean, it's a mega church. It's he's walking around on a stage,
right,
with a microphone,
right,
flashy lights,
sure,
and he's up there, and there's tears, and and he says that he's sorry, and he looks into the camera, and this and that, and he apologizes to people that are there and present and watching online, and it's all sort of missing the mark.
Well,
entirely.
Not only does he miss the mark, but the entire congregation then misses the mark because they stood up and applauded him.
Exactly. And so I spent some time just reading her full account that she published online, and it's she was there wasn't just the moment of his sexual predation, right? Which was obviously bad, right?
Right.
But then there was also the follow-up of she went and talked to one of the other pastors who was higher up at this church that she knew him at she was a teenager. She was 17 years old when this happened.
Right.
And he was in college, probably some Bible college, whatever, studying to be a minister.
Right.
And she went and talked to this other pastor, and he just told her to be quiet about it, and that things would be handled, and just be quiet about it. Don't tell anybody. Don't even tell her parents.
Yeah. Take this to your grave.
Yes, exactly.
This is for you to shut up about forever.
Absolutely. And so she did, but she is watching Savage sort of continue on with his life uninterrupted, right? And so much so that he actually was in charge of like the abstinence only type messaging at the church, and like was running activities surrounding that. And she, sitting there just noting the irony of the whole thing. Yeah. And again, keeping this to herself until she finally broke down in some sort of young women's auxiliary thing or whatever, and told some people. And
she was expressly told not to do that. How dare she?
Indeed.
A man told her not to do that.
And so a rumor was quickly spread around that there was an innocent kiss. From Andy. And so she, I don't know how the story ended up going with like her attendance at this church anymore, but he sort of went on his way. They probably expedited his departure,
right,
as is often in these sort of cases, and he went on with his life.
Yeah, the church shuffles the perpetrator away from the trouble.
Yeah,
and then silences the victim.
Right, but never does anything to address the problem with this predator.
Right, and never does anything to offer any redress for the victim.
Right.
Unless a stink is raised.
Right. It's just hush, 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 hush.
Yeah, shut up, shut up, shut up.
We don't want this to be an issue because it's icky, and we don't want icky.
Right.
So that was sort of the story of that. And
so that, that happening has made some news. Of course, all of the religious side of this has doubled down on, he made his peace with God. God has forgiven him.
Right.
So we should forgive him too.
Right.
There's this whole crazy amount of there shouldn't be consequences because he's already made his peace with God. Didn't you hear how much he's sorrowful for it?
Right.
So done, right?
Right.
Wipe your hands clean. We're done. This is the problem. The churches have long. I mean, and obviously, the accountability has begun. If the Catholic Church has been having trouble, has been sort of going through the job of trying to take accountability, but they don't try. They don't actually try to take accountability for things. The Pope was recently in Chile. He just finished a tour there, in which he said, so there was this priest who was widely accused of having molested people, and the bishop above him was accused of being sort of complicit in keeping him out of trouble and then covering it up so that then this guy could go on to be a predator to somebody else. And the Pope said, well, until I see proof, the priest, everybody knew. But the Pope was defending the bishop. Wow. And the Pope just said, and then later he sort of retracted and said, well, I'm sorry that I said the word proof. That may have hurt some victims, and I'm terribly sorry about that. I meant evidence. So until I see some evidence that the bishop covered up all this stuff, that the bishop was complicit, then you're just slandering him. He used the word calumny. It's calumny.
Wow.
It's slander.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
I mean, even the Catholic Church, which has had many years to get better at this.
Practice.
Lots and lots of practice. And they've paid millions of dollars. So you'd think, it's time to make this, let's just get a white paper. Let's just get a policy in place.
Right.
About how we handle this shit.
Right.
They're still not right with it. They can't do it. And I think it's in part because, I mean, it's this notion of a permanent patriarchy.
Right.
That cannot be fixed.
Well, until very recently was infallible.
Yeah.
Right. And in a lot of people's minds, still really is.
It's the boys' club, and they need to protect each other. And then there's this concept that you and I were talking about earlier, which is this notion that the sexual sin is already sinning.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's predatory, or the fact that it's rape, or the fact that it's abuse,
Right.
That's all part and parcel of the sin.
Right.
The real sin is the sexuality.
Right.
And if there's predation and if there's abuse, that's part of that.
It colors it, but it doesn't. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you and I grew up in Mormonism.
Yeah.
Mormonism, Andrea's, my wife's dad would sit his girls down. He had 4 girls. He'd sit them down every Monday for family home evening and lecture them about sexual impurity, about that being the second worst sin.
Wow.
It's like murder and then sex. And that was talking about consensual sex outside of marriage. Any sex outside of marriage was just below murder.
Right. Well, and there was a lot of messaging on sort of protect your chastity.
Yeah.
Right. So like somebody's coming at you, in some predatory way, attempting rape, whatever. You have to defend your chastity unto death.
Your
basically.
honor.
Yeah, your honor. Like you let him do this, and it's your fault.
Right.
Well, there's the vast majority of cases, the woman can't
do anything,
or prevent the attack.
Right. Or she's so fearful for her own safety that she goes along with something.
Exactly.
Or she's so flabbergasted by a situation where a person in authority over them, the woman that we were talking about before in the Savage case.
Yeah.
Well,
she actually says because he opens up his pants and asks her to.
Yeah, he's got her in his car.
Right.
He pulls over.
Right.
He's in a position of authority over her.
Right. And asks her to perform oral sex on him.
Yeah.
And she says, And so she thinks in her mind, oh, this must mean that Andy loves me.
Not only that, but she's scared, she's embarrassed, she's shocked.
Right.
She doesn't know what to do.
Right.
And in that, she's 17. Yeah. First of all, legally in the United States of America, someone under the age of 18 can't provide sexual consent to an adult.
Right.
That's legally not possible.
Right. But
also, when you're in that kind of a situation and he just whips it out.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as just, this wasn't as simple as he violently rapes her.
Right. No.
But it doesn't have to be.
Exactly.
That's the point.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I think...
with that in mind.
I think that the conclusion that we have to come to here is we all need more church. Is that it? Did I do it right? Did I circle around to the correct conclusion?
Yeah.
I think
just really what we need to do is just need to get these few baddies out.
Right.
Get them out.
And then we'll be okay.
And then everything will be fine with the church again.
I think I think the real conclusion here is I would like to encourage our listeners to if you guys have stories, participate in the hashtag. If you feel like you can, and if you don't, that's totally fine.
Right.
But if you feel like you can, hashtag church too.
Yeah.
Because people need to hear this. They need to understand that your religion is harboring criminals, is actively participating in these evils.
Yeah. Keep that hashtag active.
Yeah.
If you can.
If you can. No one's going to judge you if you had an experience and you don't feel like you can share it.
Right.
But if you can, do. That's a much better place to leave that.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Sure.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you have things that you need to say about all of this, and I'm guessing some of you do.
Yeah.
And we welcome it. Please write to us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you could call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yep, that's right. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click the like button.
And while you're on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It's a closed group, but that's what keeps the conversation under control. It's moderated. Right. It's civil. It's respectful.
By law. By my
mandate.
By mandate. That's right. It's in the group rules. Read it when you get in.
Yeah.
Speaking of Facebook and all that sort of stuff, thanks so much to Mackenzie for her hard work on the Facebook page. Thanks to Sarah, Amy, and Danny for their work moderating the Members Only Lounge.
And a big thanks goes out, as always, to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music, and Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
That's right. Thanks again to all of our patrons. They keep the show going. If you want to join their ranks, please go to thankgodimatheist.com and click on the support tab.
And if you'd like to see us on YouTube, youtube.com/TGIAtheist.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody that's tuning in for giving us your attention.
Bye.
Bye.
For better birthday parties, graduation parties, and after parties. For better Sunday afternoons, Friday night dinners, and hey guys, what's for dinner? For game watching, channel surfing, and social feed scrolling. For better nights in with the girls, afternoons with the boys, and those mornings where you open the fridge and remember you have 2 more slices, which makes everything better. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. Get the great value of 2 medium, 1-topping pizzas for just $6 each when you buy 2. At participating U.S. stores, taxes and delivery fee extra.
The pressure to innovate is constant. It can be crippling, or it can be a catalyst for your best thinking and your best work. Every year, Harvard Business School Executive Education helps executives like you understand the forces that drive change and find new approaches to compete and win on innovation. Change course. Get ahead. Go. Start by going to hbs.me/go. That's hbs.me/go.